gonna lie, God did this big one, making sure that I was part of an actual culture. Like, it's just a good feeling when somebody asks you where you're from, and you're able to say any other country just in America itself. Like, somebody can ask you where you're from, and you could probably say, yeah, I'm Guyanese, or I'm African, or I'm Jamaican. They could also start talking about the culture and the food. They talk about the dancing. They talk about the clothes. It just hits different when you can show and say that you're part of an actual culture. You know, two Americans meet is like, oh, you're American, or I'm American too. What state? It's like, But when two Nigerians meet, oh, you're from Igbo. Like, the energy is just there. The feeling is just there. You start smiling. You start talking about the places back home. You start talking about the culture.
Not gonna lie, God did his big one when he blessed African Americans with the spirit of ingenuity and the ability to persevere and create a new culture outside of being displaced and having to rid themselves of everything that they knew before as a people because it was a matter of life and death. That's a flex. I talked about this before as it relates to hip hop, but I'm going to talk about it from a cultural perspective. And just so we are clear, culture is sustained through repeated and passed down human actions and habits. That includes food, dancing, language, dialect. So what I want to talk about is the fact that it is a real flex that African Americans have culture within African American culture. Just like someone from Jamaica or someone from Puerto Rico or someone from Guyana can flex about their cultural differences, African Americans in the United States can also flex about their regional cultural different practices. The internet will have you thinking that Black African American culture is all one thing. And that is not the case, baby. I am from Atlanta by way of Cleveland. And being from or living in those two regions makes me very different culturally than other African Americans who live outside of those regions. Black culture was very regional up until the late 1990s, early 2000s. BET, MTV, and social media is what made Black culture unify and make it seem like it's all one thing. But each region, depending on where a Black person is actually from, what state they're from, much like what country someone might be from, dictates what type of language or slang you will use, what type of fashion you will wear, what type of food you eat. For example, me, I was born and raised in Cleveland, okay? Culturally, most people don't even know what a Polish boy is, but we grew up eating this. This is African American Cleveland food. Culturally, the Cleveland Black community is known for line dancing. This is the Cleveland Line Dance King. As far as language, okay, I am old. We grew up in the 90s saying Jake. If you're from Cleveland, you might say that something is raw, or she raw, or he raw, which means that they're dope, they're cool, they're lit. We grew up calling what most people call sneakers tennis shoes. Okay, I say pop. In the South, they say soda. I've never called it soda in my life. And in Atlanta, which if you from Atlanta or you live in Atlanta a long time, it's not Atlanta, it's Atlanta. They've been had their own food. That's where the lemon pepper wing came from, and y'all think this is something that just came about recently. J.R. Cricket's been around since the 1980s. Sayings like slime is actually literally Atlanta slang, meaning your good friend and them, twin and them. Twin is Atlanta slang. It's not something that developed on social media. I remember when people were saying that before it even hit social media, because I live there. This continuous talk about how African Americans don't have culture just lets me know that when you guys say stuff like this, you have a fundamental misunderstanding of how culture is actually developed. Let's do a roll call in the comments. If you are from a different city or state, what is your language? What is your food? How did you grow up? What is different about where you're from?